everyone. This was a pretty decent week for Dollhouse therapy. I got a little more than I usually get, so that's pretty exciting. One of the things I've done is added a few more items and updated the stock on some items in my Etsy shop. So here are a couple of newer items. I particularly love this fireplace. It is so cool. I really wish, I think it would be a really cool thing to have in this house, because I envision this house as a house that's been around for a long time, so I could see it having a fireplace like that, even though that's a very early American kind of dollhouse, early American kind of fireplace. I could see a house like this having one of those in it that's not being used for cooking anymore, but is still part of the house. I tried it out. Unfortunately, it absolutely does not fit in the room that I've designated to be the kitchen. There's another room that I could put it in and say, well, this might have been the kitchen originally, or at least the main room, because an early American house didn't have a kitchen per se necessarily. It just had sort of the space where people ate and gathered and cooked and sewed and kind of did everything. And there is a room that in this house that could have been sort of the multifunction room if this was an early American house at one point. But the shape of the room is such that even though that fireplace fit in there, it kind of it would make it very awkward for me to do anything else in that room. So it just doesn't really work in this house, which is too bad because it's a beautiful, I just love the fireplace. However, I do think that I could reproduce that fireplace in a slightly different configuration, a little bit smaller, a little bit less deep, and that might work in my house. So that's kind of a thought in my mind as something I might consider doing when I get to sort of the main living room of this house. In other news, I did get a porch put on my house, so let me take you over there and show you what happened there. Okay, here is the first story and second story porch. I think it's a little bit funny that there's a porch up here when these are windows, not doors. But I have actually seen that on houses, and I think, you know, people probably climbed out the windows occasionally to sit out there, or it was just there for the outward appearance, the decorative part of the house. Now that I have this on here, I have to admit I don't really love the balustrade up there. In fact, I had a moment, well, kind of a long moment last night, where I woke up and went, I don't like these balustrades. They're too clunky. They don't go with the rest of the house. I need to change them all out. I actually came down here at like 3 a.m. and looked at them and went, oh, no, wait a minute. They're fine. They're fine. Don't get carried away here. And I do wish that the balustrades were a little bit more delicate, like the porch. I wish I had planned that a little bit better. But I don't think they look bad, and I certainly don't think it's worth doing it all over again. I do wonder now about having this one up here. I think maybe I could have done without that since I have this trim on the dollhouse here. But I just tried to wiggle that a little bit, and it is glued down really solid. I did a really good job gluing that, so it's there to stay. And I think that I just need to kind of chill out about that and understand that nobody else looks at it and says, oh, you shouldn't have put that there, you shouldn't have put this there. Mostly they see the whole picture and go, oh wow, isn't that amazing, I never could have done that. And you know, and that's where it is. So I did go in, I was not able to film this yesterday, but I did go in with wood filler and fill in a lot of places where, there were places where like these posts kind of didn't quite meet up properly. there were a few little gaps. So I did take some wood filler to those, and I also put wood filler up here where it meets the roof, so that all looks really solid. I thought about putting it here, but I opted not to, since this is a gritty surface. It's not a flat surface, and you know, this does not need to look like it's solid with the floor, so I didn't do that. Okay, so what that leaves me with is my paint touch-ups. I don't know how I missed that corner right there, and then I need to touch up over the areas. You probably can't even see where they are, but there are areas where I put in some wood filler, and there's some spots that were just kind of, you know, I touched up with sandpaper and things like that that need to be touched up. And then I don't know if you can see the paint places that need to be painted where I did cutting to put these balustrades up. So that is my next step, is to go around all of this and do the touch up on the painting. But overall, I'm really excited. I even cut out, from my scraps, I cut out a little section of the columns to put here to make that look more finished. So yeah. So overall, despite my 3 a.m. second guessing, I really am happy with how this came out. And the last thing I have to report is the latest updates on the peacock. And you can see I've got quite a lot more done on the tail feathers here. And this is just so much fun. Every time I start a new color, I'm so excited because I just love working with all of these lovely colors. So we are up to 29.5 hours of work on this tapestry. And still loving it, still really enjoying it. It's something that most evenings I try to do at least 15 or 30 minutes on it. I've been able to most nights get about 45 minutes in. And you know, that's kind of my unwind activity before I get in bed for the night. So, yeah. Alright, so that's this week's Dollhouse Diary, and yeah, glad to say I got a little more dollhouse therapy than usual lately. I hope this is a trend and that I've got more days like that coming up. And try to schedule some dollhouse therapy time for yourself, or whatever it is that you do to rejuvenate your soul. See you next week. Bye!